So we're live with Joe Chrest from Stranger Things. Joe, how are you?
Doing great, thanks. Great to be in Springfield.
What do you think of old Springfield?
Well, I just got here last night, but I love it so far. Really, I was telling Charlotte, it reminds me so much of Memphis. Have you guys ever been to Memphis?
Yeah.
Yeah, the way, it just, like coming here, the little alleyways that are used, like other cities don't really use alleyways as places to hang out and be. But, that I don't know if do you guys have actual like bar entrances in the alleyways?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do too. Like one of the best barbecue places there is in a little alleyway.
Interesting.
But anyway, I love it. I walked around last night.
Awesome.
Felt safe.
That's good.
It's all an illusion.
I hope it was.
No, it is. Springfield's I always call it the sampler platter of America.
Yeah?
Because you have like a little bit of everything. We have like the downtown here, and then you can drive 10 minutes in any direction and be in the most rural place you've ever been in your life.
I doubt that because I grew up in West Virginia. So.
Oh, okay.
So I've probably been in a little more rural places.
You may have us beat.
But I don't want to find out.
So can you tell everybody, just in case they don't know, first of all, if you don't know who Joe Chrest is, you're missing out. Subscribe to Netflix and go watch Stranger Things. It is top-notch. It's just one of over 100 film roles that you've had.
Yes.
So can you give us a little bit of a rundown of your career up until this point?
Well, interestingly, my career started in Missouri.
Oh.
I did. St. Louis was the first film I ever did. Was one of the best films I ever did. Steven Soderbergh movie called King of the Hill. When I say, back when I did King of the Hill, everybody's always like, "Oh, I love that show."
Oh, that show, yeah.
And I'm like, no, I wish I was part of that cast, but no, it was an awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, it's one of his best. Critics agree, one of his best. But anyway, right there in St. Louis, fell in love with St. Louis. But yeah, what's that? I'm not good at math. That was 1992. So.
So how old are you, Dustin? Were you born yet?
Right.
Moving on.
Yeah, were you there?
Yeah, I was there. I worked in craft service.
Right.
Yeah, Soderbergh and I are super tight.
Yeah. I thought I
we've been
recognized
besties for years.
Sorry, I didn't.
That's okay. I just have one of those faces.
Right.
Just blends right into the crowd. So let's fast forward then. You started out in St. Louis, and then somehow...
we shot in St. Louis, but
right.
That was pretty much, sadly, the only other time I've been in the state of Missouri.
Oh, until now?
Until now.
Wow.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Thank
We're
you.
honored.
Thank you.
So let's fast forward to Stranger Things. This is such a good show, so incredibly successful. Season 2 just launched. First of all, what can we expect from Season 2?
What?
You don't have to give us spoilers, but just let's just do a bullet point list of adjectives.
Well, I really enjoy. I'm a fan of the show, which doesn't always happen with stuff that I do. Rarely,
bit of brutal honesty.
No. But I'm a huge fan of the show, and in fact, I'm glad to report I still don't know how 2 ends because I'm with the graces of the producers and Matt and Ross, the Duffer Brothers. I enjoyed watching, reading the first season. It just the pilot was just one of the best, most interesting things I ever read, and then it just. With the reads, I couldn't wait to get the next script because they were written so well as cliffhangers, and I was thinking, this is awesome, but I don't think they're ever going to be able to pull this off with what I'm reading on the page. Can it translate? And then it was just even better once I saw it. But going back right toward the end of the season. I asked, because my character was developing, as somewhat, portrayed as clueless, at least to the proceedings of what's going on in the Upside Down and Demogorgons and all that stuff. But he's also somewhat clueless to even the proceedings, in his own basement, in his own house. So I was like, can we approach it from now on a need-to-know basis? If I need to know critical plot points or something, let me know and I'll read the script. But otherwise, I want to watch this with my family, and that was awesome. And then so the second season, same thing. I said the same thing, and so I was telling Charlotte I'm getting ready. Well, we're going to watch episode 8 tonight, but I'm here, so I'm hoping they hold off on it.
That's the ultimate betrayal.
Yeah, so I the beauty was, it's so many people. There's so many everywhere I would go. Anytime Stranger Things came up, that when's season 2 going to start, and everyone always wants to know, which is ironic because yet they don't want you to spoil it, But then, so what are you supposed to say? But I love the way that it's gotten out. The first season was really concentrated there in the boys' lives, and then. Now this one, someone would say, I guess, gets out and breathes a little more, and that can be a bad thing to me. For instance, after the season 1 of Walking Dead, which I loved, the Frank Darabont version, that first year, I loved the insular, little claustrophobic world where the imagination just filled in the stuff out there. And when they got out, and I know I'm pretty much alone in this, but they kind of lost me in season 2, and so and that was a bummer because I really loved watching season 1 of Walking Dead, and and everybody tells me it just got better and better, but I have a family and I have very little time to watch TV that's not sports. I'm a huge sports fan. So anyway, I didn't invest the time further. So I was kind of concerned, a little worried that was going to happen with Stranger Things, but it was actually just the opposite. I think to me, it's better. It's way more difficult to not go on and binge the whole thing. The cliffhangers are just superb, and man, it's hard. But I wasn't going to wait a year to see it and then fly through it all at once and then sit there. It's kind of how I am with my biggest passion sports-wise is college football, and I wait all year for the late August to come for that first game, and then it's now it's already only 3 games left, and I'm already going through withdrawal. To digress.
So I have a question about your character. So your character on Stranger Things is very laid back. I remember laughing out loud at the dinner scene when you say, "What did I do?"
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure people always tell you that. But is there a path you'd like to see your character take, or anything that you'd like him to do, or any dream role for him?
Well, I want to have that conversation with Matt and Ross. I was going to. They're actually, as I understand, writing right now, but. I'd like to see a little more of who he really is, because, that portrayed, you could really, at first through the audition process, was just basically described as he would rather be playing golf than being at home. And then, but when we started talking about it, it was like, no, he really loves his family. And, I think, that it's kind of poignant to me because so many dads have to do that they, that they really spend all their time, making a living and I guess in a way it's sad to me because of like the priorities are ironically wrong because the mission is right. I want to provide the best for my family, but you see it all the time. They people spend so much time making money for the right schools and things like that, and really the kids, they ultimately, just want your time. But anyway, it's, you can see flashes like, when the chips were down, when something, there was really potential danger. Ted was kind of, as small as the flashes are, he was there, just little things like, you don't, it's Mike's and journey, and those, so, you're seeing Ted through the kid's eyes, and it's sort of like he's just the guy who's there reading the paper and stuff. But there's a little thing where I'm helping him with his bow tie, and or actually no, but by the time we did, I think the one that ended up on screen was his regular tie. But I can't even remember. But helping him with his tie, rushing out there. At the end of last season, to make sure he's okay. But I would, it would be interesting to me. We haven't had this conversation, but to see him actually, where something happened that's enough to where he has to actually jump into action and show, maybe. I'd love to end up in the Upside Down. Yeah.
Words you don't hear.
Yeah, I'd like to go down there with that bat.
The
bat with the nails on it.
Man, talk about iconic.
And maybe then I could actually get an action figure. Disgruntled that Mr. Clark, Randy Havens, who plays Mr. Clark, he's become a very good buddy of mine. We just finished 5 weeks together on this Jason Reitman film called The Front Runner.
Oh, I love him.
The Gary Hart story. Way before you were born. Another 80.
Again.
That's what's weird is like this one's set in 1984 and 1987, and season 2 is 1984. Season 1 was 1983. But I've spent pretty much since Stranger Things. I mean, a lot of it is because just the 80s are kind of the thing, but in a way, it's been nice to ride that, because I was stuck with the 80s hairstyle there, for so long, and still, I mean, we just wrapped Frontrunner last week, and but, I just went from 80s thing to 80s thing to I was another 80s dad in a Hulu pilot that actually didn't go. It was a really good show. But and then I did Killing Reagan right after that, which was in the 80s. And it seems like there was one other 80s thing, but then this last 80s thing. But one day I'll be able to actually get a haircut.
You touched on something a second ago that I wanted to jump into, specifically playing a father figure in so many prominent roles. A career in performance is one of the most demanding careers that you can have. To do it well, it's incredibly demanding, and you have to make all kinds of sacrifices. So how do you personally balance those priorities, balance a career in performance with, you have a family and you have other things beyond just making money and getting your name on a list of credits. So how do you balance those?
Well, the main thing is you hardly sleep. that's really in it's in the past, pretty much since my son was born. I mean, before then, I really like to have 8 hours sleep, and 7.5 was kind of great. But now, if I ever get 6, it feels like I've just, really indulged. And but it's usually 4.5 or 5 hours. It's and that's kind of helps me the lens that I view Ted through in these roles. That where I try to keep off, even when, like say, even 21 Jump Street, a little more, which kind of started the whole dad thing. I mean, it's just been really crazy since 21 Jump Street. It's been pretty much straight dad city, and I guess it's just an easy casting thing, and I love being a dad in real life. It's actually my favorite thing, that favorite part of my life. So it makes so much of the homework is already done. I mean, especially with Ted, it's like a lot of the things that I say are just things that I've either heard my dad say, or I've said or wanted to say. The beauty is, it's like you can say the thing. But the dad thing is something that like in Frontrunner, we were working pretty much every day, and but like there would be a day I would be on hold, and I was in Atlanta. And, if I had one day, I would fly back down, or a couple of times I just, if I had like a weekend, I drove down. I enjoy driving, but yeah, you just have to, get your priorities straight and not sleep.
And how old are your kids now?
My son just turned 13, which is cool. He's like right there at Mike's age. So, there's plenty if they need material. There's plenty that I could furnish. And then my daughter is 8, and she's the one that's my son doesn't have any interest in acting or anything like that, which I never did either. But then my daughter just loves it. I mean, she's 8, and she watches Mel Brooks. She's like probably going to be a filmmaker, because she just will watch movies over and over, and she's seen some movies that much more advanced. I'm not going to say the titles, but yeah.
So you said you weren't interested in acting, so how did you get into it?
I kind of a little bit. It's interesting to me, the Mr. Clark thing, because that they have their AV club. At my high school, I took this class with a guy named Ross Harrison, who was one of my best teachers ever. But they had like a little TV studio, and we started. I took his class, and we started making these little short films. And we just moved, and I came across a reel of that stuff, and that's really grainy and all that, and it's on VHS. And I'm really hoping to get that restored, because man, it's really embarrassing and really crude. But anyway, we started. None of us were actors, but we made these little sketch like Saturday Night Live-ish kind of things, and there's one I did with like Star Wars-ish special, our own little special effects with punching little holes through cardboard to shine light through for the stars and that kind of thing, using a strobe light. But anyway, we did that, and it was just a hobby. But then, when after high school, when I always enjoyed competitive things, and I was always heavily into sports, and there wasn't going to be a future, even for like a college scholarship or anything. So I wasn't going to play anything in college. And then, once I tried out for a play then in my senior year, and saw that competition, and then it just got more and more. Like when I went to college, I got up the guts to try out for something, and I just love the adrenaline rush that I got from sports was very similar. In the beginning, for quite a while, and sometimes when I'm lucky now, I get that same kind of when I'm doing stuff on stage. That's why I love stage work, but I love that feeling of the heart, pounding, and it's tough to get it anymore. But I can remember times like my first network, test for a pilot, and you've signed all the contracts ahead of time, so you're like your life's about to change, and I can remember actually seeing my shirt move, and I was like, how am I gonna like mask that?
Yes.
So I put on a jacket, and it was really hot under the lights, but yeah, that I tell students every other semester or so I'll teach a film class at LSU, Louisiana State University, and I try to. Students always ask about what do you do about the nerves, and how can you get those under control? And I'm like, man, I'm so jealous of your nerves, because that's just energy. It's like a wild horse, that you get on, or or like a rodeo, the 8-second. It's like, if I can get on that and ride that, I don't have to work as hard, because any time, any big moments in life, real life, we get that, and that's really what you're doing there. These are ideally in movies and TV, you're acting out the big moments in life, because you don't really want to watch the mundane.
Unless it's Seinfeld.
That's right. Which I just watched last night.
That's a good exception.
I watch
Yeah.
it every day.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's right. I love Seinfeld.
Me too.
And
So-
I just got started watching, believe it or not, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
but during people were talking about it in during Frontrunner, and so I just put it on HBO one night, and I was like, oh my God, how did I miss?
I know.
Like, why did I not watch this?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you watch it now?
Oh, yeah.
regularly?
Yeah, I just found it. I'm kind of the same way. I've loved Seinfeld.
My
forever.
first episode was the a couple weeks ago, the tongs with the cookies.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Dana Powell.
Yeah.
If you're watching, she was on that episode. One of our other past guests.
Oh,
She
really?
was one of our very first interviews.
Yeah, she was the one that was that dropped the cookie on the floor.
Oh, really?
She was
Yeah.
that person.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
he was
Hilarious.
like, no, she dropped the tong.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dropped
Yeah.
the tongue. Yeah.
And then put him back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What-
her writing partner, Paul Emerson, has worked really closely with GigSalad. He actually produced the first national ad that we ever released.
Oh
And it came
wow.
full circle.
We
Yeah.
love Dana.
No, that it just resonated so much, because just that day we were having tong issues on the set.
Tong issues.
At catering, we were talking about that, and when he said, and it was cookies, they had the best fresh baked cookies, but it's like they're there, and he's like, the cookie, the tong is not a friend of the cookie, and and I was thinking the same thing that day, because I was like, I'm not going to touch any other cookie. There's one right there. Let me just pull the thing out.
Right.
I don't need the tongs.
It's like you're playing Operation.
Yeah.
You should
And
try
they
it on the show.
invariably fall apart.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every
then
time.
you got to touch
It's like
everything.
a force of nature. So as we wrap up here, what's one piece of advice that you think an aspiring performer should be aware of as they're trying to get where you are in your career right now?
Another thing that I, tell the students, first of all, I told you I'm a huge sports fan, and a lot of, the comparisons, are so much in succeeding at that kind of stuff at a high level. But it's, the further along you get, the talent level is high. I've seen so many people that some of the best actors I've known, who just don't get the opportunity, or but then maybe they didn't work hard enough to put themselves in front of the opportunity, and who knows? But it's sad, that they would like. And then I've seen other people, with less talent, really thrive. But the big thing is you just have to outwork the competition, I think. And I tell the students, you feel really not empowered a lot of times because how do I crack into this? But the beauty that every day when you wake up, I tell them you have absolute control of two things: your work ethic and your attitude. And it's like all things being, there's a lot of everybody's talented once you get to the highest level, to Broadway and whatnot. And so it's like, and Jason Reitman was saying, just one of the last days there, he said, there was this day that some things were going wrong, and he kind of like, just the light was wrong. There was it was just external factors, and so he kind of like gathers everybody together and said, I'm asked so much of young students, that he talks to, that what do you look for in casting and this and that, and he said, that the main thing that I tell him is that I'm completely butchering his great quote, but it was something to the extent of, you want to be, you take the worst day when everything's falling apart and say, who would I want to spend that day with? He said, and you guys here, are all individually, those people. So, I'm glad I made the choices I made. But that's a roundabout way of saying, having the attitude and the work ethic, and I also say, are your is the work you're doing today, in line with your goals for the future, and so every day you need to be doing something to get better, because somebody is. And as you know, there are few, comparatively to the numbers of people that are out there, few opportunities. So when you get it, you got to jump on it, and you got to be ready.
And how can our audience members keep up with you?
Well, I'm pretty slow, so I mean it's easy to keep up with me. I don't get around so well anymore. But I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Do you have like social media or website or?
No, I don't. I just old-fashioned IMDb.
This guy's my new favorite.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah, my manager is constantly say, we gotta get you. I finally
Don't
opened
do
an
it. It's a
Instagram
trap.
account, but
It's
I
a
haven't
trap.
posted anything to it. Yeah, they cannot keep up with me. They're
Awesome.
going to have to watch this podcast.
Yes.
There you go.
Watch this show. Watch Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Go on IMDb. Watch everything that he's in. I promise you won't be disappointed. Joe Chrest, thanks so much for joining us.
All right, thanks, man. Enjoyed it.